Hello, today I'm here to make a video on a game I played exactly 3 weeks ago called Yoko no Hanashi. I was originally planning on editing down the footage and posting the Twitch highlight because this was streamed on Twitch. I was originally gonna make a video about it, but I noticed that the footage is kinda boring and the game overall is also kinda boring, so I decided against that. And instead, what I decided to do, not to highlight anything or to bash on the game, but just give my honest criticism on the game because as much as I hated playing it, actually despise playing it, there's some potential there, and I don't particularly feel like I don't want to just blindly hate on a game just for the sake of hating on it. So, with that, I decided that I'm gonna make a video, talk a bit about the game, talk about the things that I did like about the game, talk about the many things I didn't like about the game, and overall some changes that I personally would suggest that I think would make the game more interesting. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so before we start talking about the game directly, it's important to mention that I, personally, could not find any information outside of the game, so all of the knowledge that I have from this game comes from the 2 playthroughs I did. One was outside of the stream, where I played the game on my own free time, and the other was on stream. I didn't read much about the lore when I was playing the game on stream, because I felt like I had a somewhat solid idea of what I was getting into. Now that I look back at it, memory is kind of hazy a bit because the story is kind of all over the place. So, what is the game about from my experience? The game consists of you, the main character, the playable character in this game, going to a school because a yandere, in this case Yoko, invited you over to the school to play a game, quote unquote. This game is you trying to piece together the story of what happened to her, what happened to your father, and why you're here. Because from what I understood, it has like a paranormal side to the story, where your dad was the main focus of the yandere, but eventually he died in a car crash, which then somehow led her to change her focus onto you. It seems to be a generational crush amongst the families. I'm not quite sure I understood the whole plot. Throughout the game, you will see many visions, you will see the tapes, you will see the props that you need to collect. They all try to tell you a story, but it was really hard to piece anything together. The whole school is kind of scrambled. It has a bunch of things that are memey and they completely ruin the flow of the story, and that just made me not have an easy time following it. The game also has 4 different endings that I guess give you a piece of the lore, but I wasn't able to get all 4. I only got 2 of them, and the 2 that I got didn't tell me anything. So, make of that what you will. If you wanna know the game's lore in depth, I would recommend playing it yourself because I personally can't bring myself to play that game again. And we're gonna go into that on the negatives part of the video, but right now I wanna start talking about the positives, which there aren't many, but there are a few. So, let's get into the positives of this game.
O cholera, czy to Freddy Fazbear?
Okay, so one of the few positive things that I like is the character, Yoko herself. I think she is a pretty interesting yandere design. She has a semi-cute voice, and the concept of putting down bear traps I feel like could have been executed better. We'll go into that on the suggested changes, but I genuinely don't hate the execution that we have here. I just wish she would do a little bit more. On top of that, I would argue that the vibe of the school, generally speaking, is a pretty interesting atmosphere to have. I think it complements Yoko herself quite well, but aside from that, I genuinely can't praise anything else about this game. So, I know that it was quite of a short section, the positives, but you'll see in the negatives why I think that's the case. Now for the negatives, the main issue that I have with this game is the objective that you have. Because the objective consists of collecting 5 tapes, 8 drawings, 5 miscellaneous items. I don't really know. They were kind of just random junk that didn't tell me anything. And the room code, which is just for you to get more keys. This game loves its keys, having 40 rooms, 40 classrooms, and around 6 extra rooms, meaning you have around 46 or so rooms, and around 38 of them are locked, meaning that you need to collect around 38 to like 30 keys. It's kind of a really big, ridiculous fetch quest. And there are multiple endings depending on how many items you get, depending on what you do, depending on what happens if you die or not. Which I feel like is kind of a time waster at this rate, because having to collect 30 to 38 keys in one single sitting is genuinely not fun. If you want to compare it to something, you compare it to Saiko no Sotoka, where your objective there is roughly getting around 5 to 7 keys. The school layout also doesn't help. With so many classrooms, you would think that this would be a massive school with like branching paths and like many different ways of getting from point A to point B, but the entire school can be basically narrowed down to just 2 hallways with a staircase and some side rooms, and that's the whole school. It's kind of a really boring design, and it also doesn't help the gameplay loop, because for you to lose Yoko, you're basically just running from the end of a hallway to all the way to the other, because there's no real place to lose her. All of the classrooms are dead ends, and there's generally nothing inside of them. She kind of just knows when you hide in the closet generally means that they're kind of pointless and you're never gonna go inside one. And if you do go inside one, you're just gonna get stabbed. So I would advise against that, which also leads to the point of her being kind of just there to chase you. She's kind of easy to lose on normal mode. I'm assuming she's impossible to lose on hard mode. I haven't tried it on hard mode, but it says that she's faster and more persistent, which just basically means that the chases are going to be even more dragged out than they already are in the normal mode. The story feels like it's all over the place because there's so many sources of the story. You have these prolonged VHS tapes that are just reading with no voice acting. You have these weird ghost hallucinations. They're supposed to tell you a story that are just completely scattered all over the place, and you're supposed to piece it together. But since this game is a Russian game, a lot of the translation gets lost. So you end up with not a clear picture of what is being said to you and what is being proposed. So you can't take the story seriously. The school itself is full of these meme pictures that like completely take you out of the environment. And the girl herself, Yoko, as interesting of a girl as she is, I think her chases are not really engaging in the current state of the game. Dips the quality of the game quite a lot. So without further ado, let's talk about my suggested changes, because this game could use a lot of changes.
That's an interesting reaction. You're a weird little freak.
So, the first change I would recommend is expanding the school, adding more hallways, adding more ways to lose her, adding actually meaningful hiding spots, and just overall extending the school. You have 40 rooms and 30 keys. I think you could do more. Personally, I think that this game would benefit a lot from getting rid of most of these classrooms, but some of them do have some interesting things in them, like the art room that features fan art. I do admire the fact that they went out of their way to make fan art, like make a room specifically for fan art. I think that's a pretty good touch. But a lot of the other classrooms are just empty, boring, blank spaces that I personally don't think serve any purpose. So either expand the school, giving you more room to run around and do things as you would see fit, or just cut down most of these rooms. They don't need to be there. They don't add anything to the story, okay? So you can just get rid of them. The second thing I would do is try to lean more into the unique aspect of Yoko, because I feel like if you just make a yandere that's good at everything, it would be kind of like a copy of Psycho from Psycho no Sotoka. So what I think Yoko could lean more into is putting down more traps and having the traps be actually engaging. So for example, The bear trap should be able to be disarmed, and she should be able to place them on doors, so that way it actually emphasizes on her being like more on the brighter side of things, I would say. Being able to trap you in like rooms, putting down bear traps to impede your progress, putting down tripwires at hallways to make you trip during chases. Of course, you should be able to disarm all the traps that she can put down, but I think that she should lean more into the trapper design. I kind of like that idea to differentiate her from the other yanderes. Something else that I think should be done is add an option in the main menu so that you can actually read the lore or just have the lore there. Because while trying to do research for this video to find lore on this game, or literally anything that would help my introduction section of the video, for it to not be complete dog water, I couldn't find anything. Most of the lore was hidden on like the endings, I would say, which some of them are up on YouTube. I could have watched them objectively, but I'm sorry, I did not care that much about this game. Overall, I think that the game itself could use some polish, and I don't want to say that this game is bad. I do think it has a lot of potential, and with some polish into it, I do think it could be one of the big yandere games. But I think that this game has already come to a close, and I highly doubt that the Russian dev will be watching my video. So, unfortunately, I think that this will be one of those games that has potential, but we'll never see it fully executed. Which is a shame. I really like the game. Well, the game's concept anyway, because the game itself was just me running from classroom to classroom looking for keys. And I would argue that that wasn't very fun. But yeah, that's basically my review on Yoko no Hanashi. It's an interesting game, once again, has a lot of potential, but it's just not for me. Objectively speaking, I am pretty sure you could cut down on the time and this game wouldn't take that long if you knew what you were doing right away. But personally, I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing through most of the game. There's this whole issue as well with the code just giving you more keys to open, which I felt like that was a bit pointless. But hey, that's just my opinion on the game. Maybe there are some people out there who enjoy this game, who knows. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say. See ya.